It will be recorded. Yeah. Okay, well, I open the April meeting and welcome you here. Call on apologies, call for apologies.
Right, Catherine Egan, Galvin,
Councillor Matthews is here.
And he's gone.
Yes. Would somebody like to move we accept those apologies? I thought Councillor Matthews was going to be Mr. Councillor Mulligan, and seconded by Councillor Dixon. Put that motion, those in favour say aye. Aye. Okay. Now, I was wondering if somebody would like to move the recommendation confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting on the 28th of March.
Thank you, Matt.
I've got it over here. Councillor Matthews, seconded Councillor Cole. I'll put that motion in. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carry. All right, now I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Ravi Gill, who has requested to come and address the council. And additional information for you is that Ravi is, at this stage anyway, expecting to run for council the next election. So welcome, Ravi, and I'll hand over the floor to you.
Thank you. Honourable Mr. Mayor and you've been given honour and I should give honour is and all the council. My name is Ravi Gill and I run the cafe and so every day you get to meet a lot of people in the cafe and they come and address things, and one of the things that the rest when we opened the cafe, we used to have a toilets here, so they were functioning at the time when we started, and then it closed and we started using on the other side, on the deck side, and now they are closed. So I mean they don't never complain, and I don't know why when I'm the first place I'm here, but it's just because they addressed it and they asked me, these two toilets could stay, and they were just having a bit of grumble, and I said I'll go and ask if you like, and that's what I did. And when I said, and Sarah said, why don't you come and she mentioned it probably to the staff, and they said that okay, you come and say what do you feel. So yeah, I'm just thinking then I was told that they're going to be a new block of toilets across the road. Okay. I thought if they're going to open it, but why don't if we can use the workers' toilets in the meantime? Some of the older ladies, particularly when they sit and having a coffee, suddenly they have urge to go to the toilet, and they just grumble at a lot and they say a lot of things, and I just thought I'll just address it.
We can't really ask them to hold on that long, can we?
To be finished in 6 months. Can you hang on?
Well, it may go longer.
How long will the toilet be?
What do you mean in I don't know. I can you there.
I would say they'll be longer than 6 months. That's the infrastructure, the drainage has got to go in, the roadworks, things like that. So the toilets over here, I don't know if you're aware, they were closed due to a bit of a breakdown in relationship. So council had an agreement to clean, and they helped build those toilets with the previous owner. And when a new owner came along, it became unmanageable to manage that relationship. So they're closed.
So it's changed hands.
Changed hands. We did, and I don't know where it got to, Carmen, but there was originally talk of opening the courthouse toilets, which are a little bit closer than Corinda, around the side of the courthouse, but I don't know what happened there. That just dropped off, did it?
So I couldn't get anywhere with the Department of Justice, so I think you took over, and you couldn't get anywhere with it, or Alex or something.
Mm.
And it was just the whole one. They just never heard back, ever.
Have to have the hall open, I suppose.
Yeah, that the hall will be open all the time. And
If you could open it at a certain time and close
Yeah,
it.
through business hours, yeah.
Open it through business hours.
Yeah, but
Were you referring to the toilets
yeah,
out?
just the workers' toilets, if they can be open in the meantime, and
just
this seems like not far from where they used to be. These toilets, they just walk down the ramp and there's the toilets.
Yeah, there's a reason that they were closed to the public, and I don't know why, but we'll certainly investigate. We'll find out what we can do. There may even be, which could be a bit of a nightmare, but until the toilets are built, we may even be able to lock this door and use that toilet for emergencies, not advertise that it's a public
Yeah.
toilet, but we'll certainly look into the options.
Yeah.
Understand
I
where you're coming
I
from.
think that'd be the best option. I don't think there's a ladies' toilet down here. It's only
No, I
one.
think that's nearly just a men's.
I think it is.
I think it's even
Facilities.
a very poor men's
It's
toilet.
basic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's trip hazards going down the ramp off. Yeah.
We'll have to be advised by the staff, but I think that'd be the best option going back into here. But we're having problem with public just barging in, you know.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
Is it possible that we may be able to give Ravi a key to that door?
when I open my shop, I can open it. And then
It's very difficult to open and close that door, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
I know it's better now.
Oh, is it?
I found, we'll look at options and get back to you, right?
Have to lock that one there.
Lock this one.
Is that possible?
I don't think.
We
it
can
is.
make.
We could work it out. I think the ideal situation, like a lot of cafes you go to, if someone asks you for the key, you could hand it over and they bring it back. Because we've had, because of the Wi-Fi here, we have some people hanging around that you probably wouldn't want in the toilet. Yeah, but if we can, until the new toilets are built, if we can leave a key with you and they take it and bring it back to you,
Yeah.
I think that is possibly the best
It
option.
probably is, actually.
Carmen's in charge of cleaners. Do you have a problem with that, Carmen? Can you see that working if we can lock this door?
I have mentioned that before, so I don't think it's a problem.
Okay,
But.
I think the problem's going to be security, isn't it? It's a bit of a pipe through those handles, I think we can lock that.
okay.
But it is staff
We'll see what we
security
can
that we're
look
looking at, I think, Ravi,
Yeah.
and so that's the problem with this. But if there's a way around it, well, that's the best facility.
The toilets that are planned for over there are going to be a full disabled toilet, so there will be access for all. And it will be quite close to the main street, quite close to Hope Street where the toilets will be built. So they'll be wonderful when they're done, but realistically, it could be 12 months.
Yeah, they probably will be. Is that all, Ravi?
Yeah, that's all.
You don't want to give an election speech while it's.
I don't think I'm equipped for that, but I'm keen learners, you know, I want to learn from your leadership and from other people, however they can guide me. Yes, I would love to be a part of, you know, a team where I can be useful, like, you know, I don't want to just occupy a seat and not being useful.
Yeah, Ravi, I think that you're going to have to promote yourself pretty well wherever you can for this to get election,
Yeah.
to get elected. And if I were you, I'd be mentioning the skills that you would bring to council, which are quite valuable. Your accountancy, your IT, I don't know what else.
I'm an IT, and I have worked with a lot of disability and those services. I used to manage data for them as well, but also used to train their staff.
Yeah.
You know, these social kind of activities. And I used to run a lot for the Aubrey Council whenever they had you know, any program they were running for the youth.
Yeah,
This is 10 years ago, and when I was in there, and I used to run most of their youth programs just to give them a direction, you know, so that they don't just hang around the street and waste their life, and just give them some direction. And I used to do that for Aubrey Council, just as a part of, because I was a part of a church and I was running for them, but they invited me they saw some good changes in people, and they said, well, we won't be asking you to, you know, preaching to them, but we would definitely be asking you to help us out in whatever skills you got. And I used to help them out, and they.
well, good luck with it. I hope that this seat here will be vacant if you're looking for one.
Right.
I wouldn't.
Ravi, I think we can find a seat in Canberra after that.
He's getting here, I think.
Probably that top one.
I don't know about that. I'm just a very, you know, small man and street as well. But yeah, I would like to be helpful in every way.
Yeah. Good luck with you.
Thank you, Ravi.
Okay, we'll move right along, and I call now for declaration of interest.
I can take your lead, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Ravi. You're welcome to stay if you wanted to.
Not gonna golf.
Now, call for declaration of interest if received and conflict of interest. This is always a difficult one when you're doing a budget, but I think, don't think anybody has a conflict. Anyway,
Already put it in there. Pretty much simply with the
We do.
showground.
Maybe we should do them again. Showgrounds, you're a secretary of a show, I'm a trustee. Yeah, can you just note that, please?
Mhm.
Additional late items, we don't have any, do we?
No.
No. We go to officers' reports. Well, yeah, we better deal with the budget first. We've got a recommendation which, from the workshop, that Leah might read back to us.
Well, the recommendation that I read out to you previously, I think we need to go through this one that explains why the meeting was adjourned. So this report recommends that the adoption of the recommendations from the budget workshop with the inclusion of the additional new fees tabled at the meeting. And the workshop's held on Thursday, the 11th of April, 2024. Councillor Tiffany Galvin and Councillor Chris Matthews left the budget workshop meeting at 11:30 a.m. and subsequently the budget workshop meeting was adjourned to Thursday, the 18th of April, which was this morning. The recommendation from that meeting is that the draft budgetary documents with the changes as agreed are advertised for public submissions and outlined at the various community meetings being held across the Shire. Further, that the draft budget includes taking out a loan for $350,000 to commence the process of decommissioning the Bingrit depot. And that was moved by Councillor Mulligan and Councillor Colton in the workshop.
I have a mover of that recommendation for the meeting. Going the same way, Councillor Mulligan, Councillor Colton. Is there any questions? Anything else not clear? You understand that we can have another chop at this budget if we need to, but it needs to go on the public display now. And if we do change anything, it'll be minor. So all right, if knowing all that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, no carried. Thank you. The next item is executive services, if I hope I'm correct. On page 157.
Did we need Saul to come in at this point?
Yeah, and also Carmen, we can do those. Would you like to give your little talk, Carmen, on the tree? Over to you, Carmen.
So in regard to the wider river foreshore project in Bingruth, there's a bit happening at the moment. We're finally getting progress. It's been very delayed getting all the approvals, finding out where soil comes up to with everything and then getting a contractor. The fairy tree, gnome tree, root tree, whatever you know it as, has been removed from the river and it's sitting on the bank, but the bank's actually been cut out. So they couldn't lift it, so they had to scull drag it from the river onto the side. The contractor that was booked in by Soilcon to come in and start the rehabilitation actually pulled out because of recent rains on the coast. And we've been really pushing to get another contractor. It looks like the contractor now will be Crawford's, who actually pulled the river, the tree out.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if it works out, they'll be starting next week to do the river bank. So what will happen is they'll drop down rock, which they're sourcing from Palomalla Wharf Quarry. It's the same type of rock that's on the side of the bridge, like the embankment, and they'll put it down to a point where it's called something opposed. Angle opposed. Thank you. And then they'll build two groins. So those two groins, those two parts will actually direct the water that comes down back into the centre of the river.
Are they in a basket, Carmen, or just?
No, so they just drop the rocks until they get to that point, and then the same for the two groins. It'll be like a cement platform surrounded by the rock.
Okay.
So because I'm really nervous, like now that they've cut away the riverbank, that if we have a big release or something of water, it could get in there. By the end of the week, the tree will be removed. It'll either be taken to a local sawmill or it'll be stored somewhere at the back of the living classroom. So we're not going to chop it up or burn it or whatever, but we're just currently trying to find out what to do with it.
This is the sawmill at Bingrit.
Yeah, so there's two sawmills. Peter Turnbull's had a look at it. They've said that it's too hard and too old for him to deal with. We've had meetings with Lance Wilson. He thinks he can do something with it, but we're having another meeting on site with Andrew this afternoon.
What's the idea of that? Cut it into slabs or what?
Yeah, so what they're looking at is the length of it with, and then there's the root ball on the end to cut the root ball off, and then you end up with the trunk, which would be about 7 to 8 meters long. And then they'll actually cut it the length of the trunk into quarters,
Oh, yeah.
and then it can be slabbed.
Right.
But I'm not quite sure if you still wanted to incorporate it into the council front counter, but we might be able to use a table out of it, or, you know, that type of thing.
That was the discussion early on, that the council chamber table was going to be made out of that, but I don't know whether that's still.
So what we're going to ask the local sawmill person, Lance Wilson, is for a quote on how much it would cost, what would be salvageable, that and usable, that type of thing.
So that with these Crawfords doing the rehabilitation,
Yeah.
so going to delay them with the job here?
I think they're different crews, because
Okay.
I think I'm not quite sure. I have no idea. But I don't think so. But they would only do what's needed so that if any releases come through, you know, like they said,
Just protect it.
yeah. But we've been working with Water New South Wales. I talk or by email the guy that releases the water from Copeton Dam, and they're letting out as little amount as possible for us.
Oh, good on you. Yeah. And the pontoon will go anchored off that, will it? Or?
So the pontoon, okay, so the pontoon is stage 3. So we've got to get all this done, and then we look at the pontoon. The mob that did the existing pontoon, the pontoon that got washed away, they've actually gone into liquidation.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So we're looking, we're not looking, we're relying on Soilcon's engineers to determine what would be a good pontoon. What we're trying to work out is a pontoon that rises, like you might have seen them at Gundawindi, where they go
On the pylon.
on the pylon, like really high pylons,
Yeah.
but to have a device that when we know the water's been released, it would have a sleigh style thing underneath the pontoon, so it can be dragged out, so that the pontoon's not actually there when we know that there'll be a large amount of water come through.
Yeah. All right.
And that's all externally funded.
Yes.
So that's finally things are happening.
So you like funded by, you say externally?
So 2 amounts. The first one is council got funding for storm and flood damage, and we got 750,000 for the river and 360 for the Roxy. So we're going to do some drainage at the Roxy, and then another lot. I think
You got some specifically to get the tree out, didn't you?
yeah.
71?
So I think they're both state actually, sorry.
Yeah, so Carmen, so just getting this straight, so that they're going to keep the trunk, the root bit's going to go to the living classroom.
Yeah, we don't really know. That would be like an artisan type style if they want to make something, you know, like ornamental out of it.
Yeah.
But we don't really have the budget for that. So the root ball won't be lost. It'll be probably stored away out of the public eye. And then we'd concentrate for now on the actual trunk.
And so what happens to the branches on the top there? They just follow.
So anything that's just unusable would go to the tip, or maybe placed with the root ball at the living classroom. It just depends.
Both of them did good. Couldn't you use it as your fire up at the living classroom?
Yeah, the red ball too. Good fire pit.
Yeah,
We could.
because when they book it, you have fire there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you run around cutting.
Anyway, that's the abstract. Thanks,
Yeah.
Carmen. Is there any questions or comments?
The Crawfords are still going to remove the house from the showground too, aren't they?
I don't know of that project, sorry.
I don't either.
Oh, they
Very-
got a showground meeting
Okay.
that the house at the showground was going to be, they were going to get Crawfords to dismantle it,
Demolish it.
demolish it.
Yeah. I don't
Well,
know.
Colin will be in here shortly.
Yeah,
so
we'll talk to Colin about that.
He may know.
Well, I know,
Thanks, Carmen. Thanks very much for that. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, Cooper's.
You want to get someone now?
Yep, I'll send him. Someone ignoring
Harmony, back up and get him.
Yeah, do you want me to?
Is that okay?
me. Either, well, we need
Both
to
of them,
and
actually.
Solomon, please. Yeah, right. That's what I heard.
Head to the mission. Honestly, heard for them to do it.
We'll just keep working in case they're not available.
Colin's on his way.
There's the,
Gave me
wait for it. I was going to give us an update on the new building, where we're up to. So I was going to talk through this building,
Housing.
housing, yeah. He's got a smaller version that you can put up on the screen.
A 3-page summary you'll be happy.
3 pages, is it?
Mhm.
Why did I sit down and read that?
Too much time on your hands.
Yeah, I read a fair bit of it, but there was a lot of it was repetitive.
Did you actually?
Yeah, it's a couple of times. I started at 4:20.
Pretty boring.
It is. What it is exactly what we're doing and what we're thinking. It's just putting it into words, as far as I can see.
On their way.
Okay. Looks good, doesn't it?
Round on.
That green colours.
The show
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Cole. Thanks for coming back. We're just looking for an update on the office, where we're at.
So at the moment, there's a few things in play. The modification for the demolition DA hasn't been determined yet, but I understand it's close. Wakefield planning place. We had to do that because in the original modification for in the original DA for the modification, SMK, when they lodged it, didn't state that they were going to well, it stated they were going to keep in the entire facade, but obviously we're going to modify the existing facade a little bit, so we had to do the modification. The DA for the construction of the new building should be determined by the 7th of May.
That's the planning panel.
Yeah, so basically it's determined, Wakefield Planning will do the determination, and then it needs to go to the regional planning panel.
Cole, that was a question I had because I've been notified of that. And I didn't think it would have been appropriate for me to sit on that. And Catherine.
Yeah, it seems a bit weird, doesn't it?
It
Yeah.
does, but we've been contacted.
But I guess, yeah, if you've been contacted, but I mean, I guess all you could do is lodge it. I've never sort of actually been to a regional planning panel meeting. I don't really know how they operate.
I've been to heaps, just a discussion.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But, I'll certainly, put
Well, they're
my
interested.
interest in it, declare that.
Yes,
That's booked in for the 21st.
22nd of May, yeah, so
I didn't even know that.
it's booked in for that 21st, 22nd of May meeting.
Because it only meets once a month.
Yeah, if it missed that, it would have went to June one, so
Oh,
we're hoping we're doing something in June, more productive than meeting, so.
Mm.
So the demolition is essentially complete for all the buildings, although we've had a few little surprises come up. We've uncovered some significant footings to something that was pretty much on the Adams garage side. Got a couple of photos there.
I think they were form builders.
Yeah, I think they might have been air raid or something like that, but yeah, fairly significant. A couple of concrete footings, probably as large as a car, but 6 foot deep.
yes.
They've
Want to zoom up
Okay.
the screen?
I don't know, can I?
Yeah.
Goal at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know, when we get them out.
You might be able to cast from that iPad straight on too.
Yeah. So we, might just leave it.
The balcony.
So we've been in contact with the engineers, and there's a thought that we might be able to, with the excavator, we don't want to start jackhammering it, obviously, because we don't want to upset the buildings either side. But the Julian Smith's got a pulverizer, and if we can pulverise it enough to get it down below the level of the footings, we may be able to keep it in situ.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to get rid of it altogether because, like you can bet your bottom dollar that we'll be putting drainage in and it'll be right where there's
We get rid of it.
Sorry.
Why can't we get rid of it?
Well, we can. It's just time and money, I guess. So because of the demolition quotation obviously states it removal of all the building footings, but things like that are a bit of an unknown and an extra. So, but I said to Julian, we'll suck it and see. We'll wait till he gets on site with the polarizer because Julian's been delayed a little bit. I think the fairy tree is taking a little bit longer than what they anticipated. He's down doing that job as well. So we'll just chip away at it. If we can get rid of all the footings, we will at a economical cost. Otherwise, we might have to leave a little bit of there. So,
Is that all that's left then? Well, they'll come here then after that.
yeah. Yes. So they just got to finish that off. We had SMK come and do some tests the other day. So they've tested both the existing foundations, but also some of the material that we've pulled out. There is some contamination there, as you'd expect. There's petroleum and some lead contamination from the lead comes from the lead paint on the buildings. So what the idea is here, and they're not significant, and there's a higher tolerance for contamination for commercial sites as what there is for residential sites. So I'll just swing back. So there are some of the footings that have already been pulled out. They probably don't look real big there, but they're really hefty. That's Julian's daughter, Dusty. That's she's down the hole there, and she's basically at the base of where that concrete is. It's the same.
What purpose would they have served?
Well, we don't really know. Like, there's one up the back.
Concrete.
Might have been like a big diesel generator or something. Maybe it was on it years ago. That's Bill Crawford from Crawford's Construction. That's one we've already pulled out of the ground. You can see one of the tanks in the background.
You sticking that in the river?
Sorry.
You're sticking that in the river?
Oh,
It's missing.
I don't think they'll lift it. That's the problem. They got a polarise to lift it. He's got a 30-ton excavator, and it pulled that one out, but it's struggled. And so that's another one that's in the ground. That's Peter Taylor. That's the other big one. So that's that one. Up the back. And it's a little bit hollow in the middle there, but it's still got concrete, and it's just all mass concrete. It's been poured. There's no
metal
or anything in it. But that's Peter Taylor's probably a bit taller than me. He's standing at the bottom of the footings there, so it's a good 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd still be alive. It would.
So that was a bit of a surprise, but anyway.
Bones in it.
No, there was a couple of bones the other day, which I assure you were animal bones. They were, and I just said, for God's sake, bury them quickly. Like,
What about that bloke that's been missing for a while? He's not.
no, I think these were poured well before.
You're being recorded.
Yeah. No, that was we've got that's just a Telstra pit out the front, which if you want to lose, a large percentage of a day, get on the phone to Telstra, as you probably already have. Man, if I consume some hours on the phone to Telstra, but so there is a Telstra pit which is asbestos and it is damaged, so we've put that in motion to try and get that replaced. But I had to chuck a tandy the other day because I was getting nowhere, and they finally escalated it, and now they're telling me it should be completed within 90 days.
Oh, right.
They can't give me any time, so that's
Barnaby will sort them out, don't worry.
but it's not really going to affect us. It's just something that
Where is that, out on the street?
it's out on the street.
Yeah, that's right.
The thing that was frustrating, it's like actually on the footpath, so it's sort of in the public arena. But every time I rang up, I wasn't an authorised person at Brighter Shire Council. Couldn't communicate to them, and it was really frustrating. Anyway,
Is it still in use, Colin?
yeah, it's got all the NBN. Again, so we had to be fairly careful. We pulled the footings out. When I say we, I was there the other day when they were pulling the footings out. I was like a expectant parent watching it, who the conduit was, because we didn't want to damage anything. But we got all the footings out that were on the footpath in front of the building without damaging anything. So all the conduit runs along there that's got the NBN fibre in it. So I was very mindful that we had to not damage that. So that's that. Now, obviously, with that report to go to the council meeting today, if that's adopted, to in theory accept the
Contractor there.
Yep. Once the architects have got that back, they can then sit down with the successful tenderer and negotiate some further savings, because he can see some savings there. He said he's hoping in the vicinity of about 50,000. But
So that's what we're waiting on before we can actually make a decision.
well, I think Max's recommendation was to adopt
Just a preferred.
as a preferred tenant, but we can't sign a contract until the DA's been determined. Because if the DA comes back with some conditions that changes the scope of the construction or adds a few extra things in that the contractor needs to account for, we need that final figure before we can sign a contract. So,
If
yeah,
the council adopt that at this council meeting, can we let you know and you'll?
yeah, and then I'll just advise Struxy and Struxy will communicate with that. But I think it's a really good outcome because that contractor is a Tamworth-based contractor, which is really good. So it's locally, I know they're keen to try and use some local trades and resources where they can, which is really good.
So Colin, just to get it straight, it's Ryder Shire Council that's applying for the DA.
Yes. Yeah, well, no, sorry, the applicant is Struxy.
Oh, okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, you know, the applicant is Struxy. Yeah, so they obviously to keep it all independent, they're the applicant. And obviously Wakefield Planning is doing the assessment. So obviously,
So what you were saying was we want the DA approved
yes.
before they'll give their final quote.
Well, yes, but as soon as they're advised, as soon as I can advise them that the council has adopted them as being the preferred tenderer.
Which is not sort of set to concrete anyway. It's like an MOU, it can change.
Yeah. But I guess as long as we say, okay, well, look, we're happy with the recommendation from the architect to adopt this, accept the tender, and we tell them, because my fear was, and I said I conveyed that to Max after the other report was provided for information. I said, if we don't give them some assurity that we want to accept the tender, if there's another job that comes in the meantime, they might say, oh, well, we'll take this job.
Yeah.
So we want to sort of really lock them in. And Max, that's when he did that report to go to this meeting. And, but yeah, the other little thing we work on at the moment is the electricity to the site. They're saying that it's probably not going to be sufficient. I find that hard to believe. But yeah, Essential Energy being Essential Energy, they take opportunities to upgrade the network at our cost, of course. So at an estimate.
That'll be a bigger transformer, is what you're saying?
Well, I'm assuming so, yeah. But I can't see if we've previously had an administration building there and Adams Garage, and we're demolishing both, and we're putting a new building there that has energy efficiency at the forefront, energy efficient lighting. We've adopted passive design. The air conditioning is going to be more efficient. I can't see it'll draw any more than what it did. Anyway, it is what it is. Essential Energy have to accept it. So that we've had an estimate of between 30 to 50,000 for that. So that's going to offset, I guess, any savings that we can negotiate in the tender. So I don't expect it's going to be substantially more. Like what the tender price is, I think, will be, the project budget. And I said to Owen from Struxy the other day, the architect, I said, look, there's probably things that'll come up along the way. And he was fairly confident that they've covered most things in it. He doesn't anticipate there being any significant extras. So, there might be little things here and there, but yeah, it's, I think that tender price we've got is pretty realistic, and I can't expect there being a huge, blowout or anything. So they've been very thorough in how they've approached it and the design and documentation. And I guess that's the benefit, we pay for that, of course, but when everything's well documented and well designed, I think you're eliminating some of those, what ifs along the way. So
if the planning panel's meeting on the 21st, 22nd of May, would that mean that we could make the determination at the May meeting? Maybe will it be that quick or not?
Well, it depends how quickly the planning panel get back, like having not had anything to do with how they
planning panel will be immediate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I can't see why it couldn't go then, because the DA will already be determined. We will have that. Wakefield Planning have said they'll get that back to us, I think, by the 7th of May. So yeah, it's just really, I guess it's an adoption by the planning panel that they're happy with this discussion. And
is there anything that needs to be pointed out to the planning panel? The planning panel consists of 2 local government representatives, which is Catherine and I, and then about 3 or 4 state appointed people.
Yep.
And it's usually nowadays done on Zoom.
Look, I honestly can't see, we're replacing replacing an administration building with an administration building.
Yeah.
Previously, there was obviously a commercial site and the Adams Garage site prior to that, but, I can't really see there being any issues. There was one not complainant, but person, and I think that might have been Nancy McGuinness, may have lodged an objection to it or on the basis of access. But I guess it may also depend on what happens with that site next door. If we're considering access and if it depends how far we want to try and,
Well,
I guess.
I need to be briefed.
Piece.
I need to be briefed on that because that's the sort of thing to look at.
Yeah. Well, it's a legal right of carriageway. And Amy from Pally Styles has been quite vocal about, because she doesn't believe she has anywhere else to park.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that's the legacy of the way that block has been developed. And, she hasn't had any before. I mean, she has enjoyed the luxury of parking there, because obviously there's been no vets there. So she has really parked there. When the vets were there, she wouldn't have parked there because the vets needed to get in and out of the back of the building. So she's enjoyed the luxury of parking there. But, you're not legally allowed to do so. I mean, yes, they own the land, but there is a right of carriage, a legal right of carriage over that land. We're not, Patsy did say there are some sort of clauses there which don't allow for intensification of the use, but I don't consider that we were intensifying the use that much. I mean, it's not as if that was, I guess, the main access point for all the customers to access administration building and the entry was at the rear or something like that. You could have probably argued that was an intensification of the use, but it's going to be the odd person, like, that we probably, half a dozen vehicles will park there. Certainly all the rest of the staff, they'll probably park where they previously parked over in that other car park. So, and, we may have to look at whether the garbage truck accesses that through that lot or whether it accesses through the other lot, and that's stuff we can manage. But, I just don't see that we can not allow access on the basis of letting the person park there on a right.
Sure. I'll go through it privately with you and I'll have a look at a sketch or map or something.
Yeah.
Sure. Exactly what we're talking about.
But other than that, I know it probably looks like there's nothing happening, but there's a heck of a lot happening. Like the old duck on the water, isn't it? Like there's a lot happening underneath there. And see, but we're getting closer. And look, if all goes well, look, I can't see any reason that why we couldn't get a start on the project in June.
Yeah.
Once we sign, I mean, I know, once we award a contract, there'll be a little bit of, time. Obviously, they'll have to get their ducks in a row and get materials, we get contractors, all that sort of stuff. But, we should be able to get something happening reasonably soon.
Just looking up, be pleased.
Yes, for
We'll all be pleased.
Yeah, it's been a long journey and probably more so for the staff, I guess, have been working in remote locations and it'll be great to get all them back together and it'll be good for the streetscape too.
Yeah.
So what we've done at the moment, we've switched over fencing because we're going to have a period where the demolition was finished. It's not fencing because they own the side fencing that was up there during the demolition. And then we're going to pull that down and then wait until the new contractor started. And that could have been a couple of months. So we actually purchased site fencing to fence the site. So like we own that and we always use it in a lot of other places. So we'll fence the site. We've got some signs that have been made up, which was Leah's suggestion. Thanks, Leah. And they look really good.
That's a sketch of what it's going to look like, is it?
Yeah. And I should have brought them in, but I'll grab them sort. Which is that okay?
The vast.
You know where they are? Well, yeah. So the plan is we'll when we've got the site fence up, we'll put some shade cloth along there to try and stop a bit of dust and that sort of stuff coming in. But we'll put these signs in there, and at least people know then, like visitors to town, at least the local people know what's going on. But
you see that a lot, don't you?
It's nothing worse than seeing a vacant site and thinking, oh gee, I wonder what's happening there. But
little windows in you so you can look through.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we need to go to the hoarding stuff. I don't think we need to put plywood or anything along there. I think that all the sort of hard stuff's been done there as far as the demolition goes. And I will alert you to one little thing in Pally Styles, the brick wall that faces the lot, some of the render has cracked on inside it. Now, it was cracked previously, but not to the extent. So I think a bit of the vibration has loosened out. And we've just said to Amy, look, we'll repair it. And that's why we got a dilapidation report done on both buildings, the pub building and her building prior to starting works, and the bank building as well. And we said, but the best thing is we're just better off waiting until it's completed, and then we can fix it up.
There.
So we go to do that. So that'll be
Oh,
going.
no, great.
Yeah,
And the actual sizes are going up, yeah.
put them along the front fences.
Right.
That's a. Yeah, they weren't expensive, and I just think it's a
on the wall, I reckon.
bit of advertising.
When you finish with it.
Yeah.
It's good, well done.
Yeah, so so Amy's sort of, we've communicated with her what's going on. We were going to get some ply sheets and put on the wall just to hold all the render there so it doesn't fall off. And then later on, we'll just have to strip the render off and just get it re-rendered. But look, it's just one of those things. I mean, it's a fragile old building, and in the design, the new building is proposed to have tilt panels along her boundary, like fairly close. But it's not going to allow her to do any maintenance. And we haven't had that discussion with her. But when I was talking to the architects about it, I said, why can't we move the building across a bit to give her a bigger gap? And he said, well, because that pushes it too close to the pub building, and we need fire separation of 3 metres. Otherwise, we have to then go back and look at fireproofing that wall. There's a lot of windows along that wall because we want to get that sun into the offices. So what they're actually thinking, maybe we substitute that concrete tilt panel wall for a Besser block wall, put it right on the boundary, and then put a capping over both, so it encapsulates both of the buildings. So in terms of ongoing maintenance, that eliminates any ongoing maintenance for her. She doesn't, because those bricks, her bricks are like the old bricks of the office, are all porous and all the water's sort of coming out. So if we did that, that would sort of basically solve an issue for her as well. It might be a good piece, and it's probably going to be at no more cost. So
We can paint them, Dave.
yeah, well,
Problem.
these guys are excellent.
Like up some paint.
Excellent on painting best blocks. So
Yeah.
we might buy you a couple of drop sheets too, but if that's all right.
Oh, yeah, but it's all right. We've got tiles to go on.
Oh, that's
at a later date.
Blue poles, it was, blue poles.
Oh, yeah, well, someone asked me the other day if I got any on the wall when I had my painting clothes on.
Thanks, Cole. Is there anything else you want to add or any questions of Cole?
Questions?
Very good.
Yeah, that's good, Cole.
No worries. Okay.
Thanks very much.
We'll get some more positive news soon.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry, just on that, I did sort of allude, we had some, as I said, those samples that Peter Taylor from SMK did on the soil. I got sidetracked there. The contamination levels aren't that high. So what we can do is we can mix any contaminated soil on site with some cleaner fill on site to a point where it gets below the prescribed limits for contamination. And then we can just dispose of the landfill. If we can get it under, we don't need to do anything special with EPA or anything. We can just basically use it as landfill. So, and Peter thinks that's achievable, which is really good news because like the last thing we need to be doing is taking out, 4,000 metres of contaminated soil.
That's good.
Yeah, so there's some positives happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Cole. Thanks very much, Cole.
Thanks. Sleep.
There we go.
See ya.
I'm happy to
Thank you.
Thank you.
move away from Figueroa once again. And Saul, do you have a summary, which would be very well?
Yep, I'll just
I'll open it up for you.
pop that up on So this is page 78 out of the housing needs strategy, which so I've just extracted those pages there to just go through, because that's the crux of it, is to determine there's 13 strategies, and just if you're happy with the priority, which is mine. So we did the housing needs assessment, which went through and they did community surveys.
Yep.
And then all of that had some directions at the bottom, which then feeds the housing needs strategy. And there is interesting reading there. And most of it is probably what you all already know. And so in discussion with Leah, we sort of put the priorities on the strategies to present to you from what we knew, what was sort of underway and what's achievable. But as you are the elected representatives, it's up to you to confirm or alter there. So you got strategy 1, deliver new residential development on government-owned land. And so that would be maybe trying to purchase Crown lands or working to transition some of that property into council to then sort of, like what we're doing with the estates in Bingra and a few other things underway.
Well, what the report did reveal was there's a lot of blocks that are privately owned that I don't know why they're not being sold if they're not.
Well, we'll get that sort of covered in, so even strategy 2 is to support the delivery of residential infill development. So they're just the infill is those vacant blocks in each street, is to like us supporting that. A lot of that we already do by sort of offering, usually with Kelly and Patsy doing multiple meetings and a full concierge service through the planning portal, but it is the applicants now, because of the portal, they have to do it themselves. Some of them, fine, they've got professionals working with them, building their places. For some people, they don't even have an email address, so there's some challenges there.
Is the portal a bit more user friendly now? Because it wasn't.
They're looking at some AI integrations, which will hopefully make it easier to sort of step them through. But there's areas for improvement. It's very confusing, especially for, even for our staff who are familiar with it. It's like the pieces are all over the place. It doesn't sort of prompt you in what you would think would be a logical way. It jumps you over from tabs and different sections, and like people are already, some people are resistant to even having to do a DA, that level of government regulation. They got a licensed builder, they got plans. It's just another thing that they have to do. And so with that resistance and the difficulty, sometimes, perfect storm there. So look, we just try and help as much as we can there. Supporting subdivision and infill within the town centres. It's there's not really much that we can do beyond saying that we encourage it, but there's not really many incentives that we can offer, because it's all guided by, you have to do a DA to do a subdivision. And the only things that we could probably do there is potentially waive fees. So whether that's something, a strategy that would be considered, because then we'll, pick up some more on the back end with the actual DA for the building part of the development, things like that.
It'll be case by case. So.
Promote delivery of housing within town centres. That sort of ties in with the project that we're working on with Marie. That's helping deliver that. And, with that, as the studies and the document shows, with those, then you can get people who don't want your standard 3-4 better.
Yeah.
Delivery of aged care, seniors housing, people with disability. And it identifies in that middle column the different strategies or different actions there to take. Prepare a DCP, which we've sort of left as medium, like the planning cadets are looking at that. Really, the DCP will pull together our local planning policies and then add in sort of different things there. It's a process that will then go to community consultation and then have to be adopted by or endorsed by the Department of Planning. And you can, I mean, it depends on what the council wants. You can be fairly open with it or fairly restrictive in some areas.
So what influence would the state government have over this? After it's submitted to them, to the Department of Planning, what? I fail to see it's any of their business, but I might be wrong.
Because it sort of interacts with all of the planning instruments, the LEP.
That's still all our own LEP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they are just sort of checking that it's not in conflict with anything there. And they've had a preliminary look at it and they've highlighted no issues there. I think it's a fairly sort of good document to go with our suite of planning documents. It's got to tie in with the regional and local strategies as well.
I think similar to our IPNR documents, the feeling I got at the meetings I attended is now that all local government entities have gone through this process and actually looked at opportunities and needs, that there could be hopefully funding aligned to developing some of these areas under the housing crisis initiative. So that was the feeling I was, although it was never said. We now are armed with a needs analysis and a plan for going forward, and we'll be, as these funding opportunities come up, we will have to refer to this to say that we've done the study. Is that where you see it going, Saul?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a funding that is got two arms, and the second arm, as soon as that's released, we'll be able to use this to support getting money there for building infrastructure like roads and the connecting of power, which has been one of the things that has delayed for years, like the releases in Bingra. It was just getting the money to put the power on. So if we can get that, they'll in that is covered like water, sewer, roads, curbing, guttering, and I think the power there. So potentially if we have land like identified here, then we can put in all that infrastructure, sell them for probably a lot more than we're doing the other ones, and they're more ready to go, more attractive.
You mentioned the potential growth in population with the circular economy. The circular economy suggestion here is very much out of date. I mean, there's no chicken growing sheds or abattoir. We can't do it. They've got to live on a bitumen road and all this. There's a whole lot of things that we could never meet. But the program that's replacing it is even bigger.
Yep.
And so that, you've mentioned 1,000, I think it was, or something, a bit more increase in population potentially with GCE. I think now it could be even more than that. But I think we've got that covered with the Barndale purchase if we need housing. But what concerns me, probably concerns everybody, is that I've always felt that with a development like that it was the private sector that takes up the housing problem, not local government or not state government. But there's a percentage of this housing that the local, that the private sector is not going to touch. And the bit we were talking about our last meetings, one of them, obviously, I guess that is private sector though. But so that's what concerns me. How are we ever going to finance that area of need?
Well, like for accessible and elderly seniors housing.
Yes, that and also the similar accommodation that we're proposing down here.
Yeah, look, I think that's not unique to Guida Shire. I think it's kind of a statewide problem. I mean,
what is unique to Guida Shire is the potential of this development over the next few years.
Yep.
And there'll be a distinct lack of housing immediately. But even for the construction of it. I reckon that needs mentioning in the report. There's no certainty that this development's going to happen, but I still think it's got a 50-50 chance. And I'm wondering if that should be revised in here.
Well, I mean, there's the opportunities for provision of workers' accommodation, which will, like in that construction phase, may be able to house them there. And then what is the development now that the circular?
Oh, well, it's the same sort of thing. It's a facility to produce methane, which is sort of what you're talking about. But in addition to that, there'll be an ethanol plant. And the green glasshouse one is still there. But the subsidiary things that will occur, like fertiliser processing as a result of what comes out of the biodigester. And we're talking big tonnes per week. There'll be a big input per week. There'll be almost a little trucking industry developed as a result of it.
Okay.
If it all happens. And like the people that are doing it now are fairly determined and fairly committed to it. But it's going to hinge on whether they can get any funding, I guess.
And look, it depends on what type of housing they are envisioning for the people who are going to be working there. Do they want workers' accommodation like on site, or do they want them sort of housed in town? And
they can't be on site, but there'll be a range of you'll be going from managers right down to labourers. So there'll be everything in between. That's the sort of housing, and it'll be permanent. Like they'll be permanent stuff.
Yeah.
Those positions will be filled, and those people will live in the shire. And I still think the private sector's got to do that. I don't know how council could ever do it.
I think maybe one of the strategies is, like, for some of them might be where we look at the rezoning for like large lot residential
for sure.
around the towns. Like that'll account for some of it. And so that is.
I think while you're on that, and we refer to the Barrendale purchase that the council is in the process of, we want to really, and this will be the new council, we really want to consider the lot sizes there. And I think they need to be very variable.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we can do that with the LEP review, which will take time, and it will have to go to consultation. And so that's strategy 9. That's a high priority on a medium time frame, and it's looking at the RU1, the R5, which is the large lot, and looking at maybe identifying new R5 zones, if you want, and then looking at although there's a spectrum of your minimum lot and maximum lot sizes, well, the very minimum that zone can have, but we get to choose sort of on the spectrum where we would fall if we want to be above that baseline minimum. And, you know, that's a strategy, a project itself coming out of the strategy. And that, I think that there seems to be a lot of call for that. The housing needs assessment sort of identified that in there in its support of the strategy document.
The other thing that surprised me in the report, I believe it to be true, but I've always been of the opinion we had 700 empty houses in the shire, and this report says half that.
Look, they do these reports. 700 sounds like a lot, but
I don't know to what extent you call it a house. There's a lot of them are not livable now. But you know what I mean, where properties have been amalgamated, or there's a employee residence not used or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was the figure we were using 10 years ago. I don't know where that came from either.
Look, I'll have another look in and see how they actually collected that data, and see if we can improve and refine on that.
I'm hoping that the house that they built, that's what I'm hoping.
And I mean, some of those houses would, even if they were still livable, might not be accessible for, you know, someone working in Warrielda.
That's right.
You know, might live on a farmhouse on the other side of Coolatai sort of thing and have to drive in.
Yeah, I think accessible is the word. I don't think there's too many of them. Too many of the owners happy to rent them.
Then there's other ones like building relationships, assisting landowners, do their DAs and apply and find out what's sort of available, getting grants and infrastructure support. I think the infrastructure support will help, the more rapid development of things like the, is it Murchison? Murchison Estate?
Bingo.
Yeah, so, for a development like that, if we had another thing like that, that had, a bitumen street with curb and gutter, you're going to probably get those houses, those DAs in quicker and those houses built a bit quicker because they're not sort of waiting. Any question?
Yeah, when are we going to be looking at the LEP? I'll just make a point. I believe there was a submission into this from somebody from the public saying there was a need for 4 and 5 acre blocks for people to live on.
Yep.
And I believe that to be true, and I would support it, but I would not support cutting up good farming land for that reason.
Yeah.
I think you need to select where we do it.
Oh yeah, look, and that's part of the process, and they're usually going to be connected to the R5, RU5 zone. So, it's not going to be a farm 5 k's out. It's going to be like they've done in Elkham Road in Bingra. It's like that strip there. And like all of those are turned into those smaller blocks, but they're still adjacent to the village zone. And we would look at those and also like the tenure there, I guess, and if people do own it and they want to maintain, farming practice, then they'll still be able to do that under the continuity provisions there. Like you can keep doing what you're doing. It's only when you change then, then change back.
This will come in on a revised LEP, will it?
Yeah, and it will go to community consultation. It will potentially be a windfall for people who own property around those towns if they think that it's they'll be able to sell in portions for more than its farming worth. But a lot of we've had people around Warialda when the surveys went out for this already asking for their properties to be considered, like in Warialda Rail had submissions from Whitlow Road asking for consideration for that there, and it will come to whoever's on the council. They'll look at it, and as long as it fits within the framework of LEP review, then we can have that. So look, that's the next thing sort of flagged for our department because it's the next step after this.
Very important. Any questions, Saul?
Are you happy with all those priorities there?
Yeah, I am. Pretty big document to go through.
Thank you for the summary, Saul.
That's all right.
It's a struggle to wade through.
It's a struggle to review too. Reading through.
A lot of repetition.
As they are, yeah. You have the preamble of,
identical
to like what the Shire is and who we are.
And a lot of those things are identified, I think it will nearly be 20 years ago when Mongard did the town strategies for Warialda and Bingo. This is broader than that, of course, but a lot of those things are identified, but the information wasn't behind it. And now we are armed with something should the opportunities come to the fore. We can roll that out and prove that there is a need, and we have, and that'll also, their strategies will also form part of our IP and our documentation going forward, and certainly something that new council will work through.
Be interesting watching Moree and how long that takes for that precinct to be actually activated. And what they say, 3,000 people increase in population. I'll be interested to see that too. Anyway, it might happen. Not
Did you say something about that funding was withdrawn or?
No, not from Moree, no.
Narrabri.
Yeah.
Probably. Oh, sorry, just one question there. So I just noticed that Cropper Creek you didn't include in there. Yeah, North Star in there, but not Cropper
I
Creek.
thought Cropper Creek was there.
You got it to include it, I didn't see that.
I saw Cropper Creek mentioned several times.
Yeah, I don't seem like a land ownership.
It tells you how many blocks are the bit I read. I know Upper Horton didn't get too much on it.
Originally, it was only a study designed for Warialda and Bingra.
We expand.
And we expanded it because at the public meetings at North Star and
Yeah.
Gravesend, it was a need from the community to have those smaller blocks around the fringes. They were landlocked, I think the reference to it was. That's why we expanded to those two villages, and I presume, and it cost us more money to do that. That would be why the other little villages aren't mentioned, because my Upper Horton and Copper Creek, it directly came from the community of North Star and Gravesend that they wanted to
I
expand.
thought we had that Cropper Creek meeting too.
That's what I was getting at.
Okay, I
On the,
don't know.
Yeah.
the question was asked then.
Okay.
I don't know, have there been, like, the surveys went out, I guess it was sort of based on that and what had been sort of identified in other documents. Because I know that, I mean, Wood, you probably know better than me. Are there people looking for large lot residential around Cropper Creek? It seems they want to be more around.
Well, the way I read it, I understand on the western side of Cropper Creek, there's two more roads there, which are basically, and somehow the land council's involved in some of them. I don't really know the ins and outs, but somebody asked me about, is there potential to develop those sites on the western side?
I think there was need for transient accommodation.
Yeah, look, I guess I wasn't involved in the beginning of this study. I only came in at the end, and Joe had it, and then they pulled me in and say, that seems like a bit of an oversight there. I'll just have a look at.
I would have thought Cropper Creek's not got the survey, but maybe not.
Oh, look, the survey went to the whole Shire, so.
Because it was Todd Bellman, wasn't it? They were
Yeah, that's right.
asking
Yeah, they were asking.
at a public meeting at the
Yeah, that's right.
minimum.
So you're saying that there was like land council owned property in.
There's so, look, I don't know, Saul. I really don't know. I know the land council's involved somehow because it must be Crown land or something. I don't really know. But the question definitely was asked, isn't
It
it?
was on the western side. I remember that.
Yeah, the question, because I think there's room for two streets there or something or other.
Yeah, look, I don't see Cropper Creek on any of the
No,
maps that.
I did read something about Cropper Creek in the report.
Oh, look, it is mentioned in the needs assessment, but it doesn't really pop up in the strategy so much.
But I know you're there, I mean, suddenly there's a few people wanting to build, but I think we'd soon find.
It's certainly something we concentrate on our LEP process anyway, so with it, the villages all together.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's in the LEP review, that can definitely be included. This is sort of just a starting point. So if there's a need identified there, I guess you can probably, like on that road into Cropper Creek school there, but Cropper country out there too.
Well, I think you're right. I think it was designated village with streets that aren't there, don't exist, but they're marked on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
There's some, I'm not there.
There was some obstacle. There was some obstacle in the road, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
that's right.
Yeah.
Crown land that had a land claim on it, do you think?
I think you're probably right. Lee. I think you're possibly right, but I'm not sure. That just
Ask Carol, she'd have it all, she'd know.
Yeah. I'll see what happens at the community meeting, whether they bring it up or not.
Yeah.
Because we need to have an answer, I suppose. But that could be handled, no, it can't be handled how we think.
Yeah, look, any land claim is sort of like, I mean, sometimes they ask the council for a submission, but it's pretty much between the state government and Crown lands. And
Yeah, I'll tell you. All right, any other questions at all? Thanks, Saul. That was very good to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Been busy.
Yep.
Picking up where Joe left off, Saul.
Yeah,
I appreciate
Pretty
it.
big task,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's Cropper Creek there. That's
Well, it's up on the screen.
put on the main flame player.
What's that's the land claim, the yellow, is it?
No, that would be the.
That's wheat crop, not harvested.
That's what he's got. Oh, so pending in the yellow. Alright, and
Quite a bit.
yeah, so that's where that'd be the TSR, where the
Yeah.
landfill is, and then up here past the school.
That'd be a yellow block. Just off the village.
On the western side there, yeah.
Those three blocks, they're the ones.
Hmm.
Just put on the
So the streets.
aerial.
Yes. Yeah, they are.
So because they're Crown land, they've got the land claim on them, is that right?
Yeah.
There's land claim on every bit of Crown land, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that there's
It's in
like a
the
fair bit of Cropper Creeks developed. There's those ones there that are
Bell Town plan.
yeah, that are like sort of smaller blocks, but just wondering what they're zoning.
It would probably good if we got to the Cropper Creek meeting and Caroline or somebody there, just have an answer for
We do
it.
have something, yeah. Can we leave that with you, Saul? And
Yeah.
So what exactly is the question? Sorry, Lyndon, I just.
I guess the question is, yeah, can those blocks be developed?
blocks on the left-hand
On the western side there, yeah.
Which one? These ones here? Or
Yeah, those ones there, yeah.
these? Yeah, so they would be,
Are they Crown?
Least, I believe, it looks like at least.
well, they are. Yeah, so they look like they're a Crown land license at
Yeah.
their primary production. Yeah, because they got the license number there.
That's least though, isn't it? Least off Crown lands, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Crown lease.
Off, or is it off the LLS? Yeah. Maybe I'll catch up with you later, so we'll have a look.
It's that like this mapping won't tell us if it's well, the LLS. If it's TSR, yeah, that's only the Crown layers. I have to sort of get.
Look, come on, leave it. And
Yeah,
we'll talk about it later. We'll have to keep moving. But thanks very much, Saul, and we will get something from you before we go to Cropper Creek, so we.
No worries.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Saul.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're on the 7.2 executive services, and Max is not here, so we'll have to take personal notice. Never mind, no, actually. Everybody got anything out of this? I should have asked Saul, there's a feedlot, a DA or development application for a feedlot at Upper Horton, isn't it? Not really. I just felt that we've set a standard, we shouldn't respect that. Getting back, you know,
Thank you, Brian.
I should have thought of that.
These issues are waiting payment,
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah.
vendor statement of authority.
I think we did mention this before about staying, visiting, but I don't know. We got through it all.
Fake the invoice on shit.
Just send them an email with a Tuesday time.
Oh, sorry, Saul, got you back. Forgot about this feedlot application at Upper Horton. We just feel as though we've inspected all the others, we should inspect this. as a council, as elected
The
member?
one that's, Hamilton.
Which is an idea at the moment because fees haven't been paid for last year.
I'd like it.
Or it rained.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you want to go have a look, we can,
Well, I think we have to.
yeah.
What are they up to? What, is it definitely going ahead or?
Oh, I mean, if they pay their fees, then you'd think that they want to take the next step, like, look, they've, who is, just wondering if Peter Taylor's done that, like, except, yeah, to get the documentation together is probably not the farmer, it's probably a consultant, so they've probably already spent a penny or two on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Have a look.
Yeah.
I'll, tee it up with, Patsy I'll flag it with her, and so when we get to that stage, then, have the excursions. I think that's,
That's Hamilton.
Thanks.
Look,
application, 05/2024, Hamilton,
Eva Hamilton's.
2983 Upper Warden Road.
Thank you.
Another person.
Another person.
Oh, I see, yeah. My ownership. All right, any questions on the report?
Excellent.
Actually, just very out of bed now.
oh, looks similar now.
It's very colourful when it's up, when it's going. I don't think I'll do much to say that if you're happy, you don't have any question on somebody read the officer recommendation. Mr. Dixon, thank you. Second that, Councillor Moore. Put the motion, those in favour say aye. Aye. Okay, now I've got somebody that will answer the question.
This is just the standard report telling you all the fabulous things that happened in Parliament. Happy to answer any questions I have.
Well, that job shop seems to be firing, doesn't it?
I was there yesterday and that was gravel and there was 5 families that were camping on the river.
Yeah.
One lady had never been to Bingra and she said, someone said, oh, you wouldn't want to go there. And she saw that life maze.
Oh, yes, yes, yeah.
That's why we go.
Warrior Op Shop is getting closer.
Yeah, that's good.
The photos look pretty good. So what's happening now? Is it, what's the rest of the there?
Lockie Paul is doing it
Yeah, this
for a
week.
cheaper rate.
You
Whenever
have
it's,
to be at home.
well, whenever it's wet, he just pops in and does a little bit and away he goes again.
Yeah.
No, beggars can't be choosers. It's lined inside now. We just need to put the kitchen in the bathroom and
Good to do.
tweaky things. Yeah.
The kitchen and the bathroom, not the kitchen and the bathroom.
Oh, they're pretty close.
I know, short on space.
Yeah.
Wash your hands in the sink.
Yeah.
Any questions of Leah on her report? No, I have a member of the recommendation. Move was Councillor Carlton, seconded Councillor Matthews, those in favour say aye. Aye. Okay, 7.4. Now we're looking for a really difficult question. You got a very important.
What is the percentage of line mute?
Still no, that's.
3.5%.
Section 5.
It is straightforward, that's would like.
If I could just give you a
Yeah,
brief update
that'll
on
be
the
great.
project.
Thanks.
Ivy Bull Road, 11.5 kilometers we have still. 3.3 kilometers have been stabilized. They are cutting gravel, 2 kilometers completed and road formed. along with that, we have County Boundary Road, which they have sailed next 3 kilometers, and they have commenced carting gravel as of start this week.
So 6 kilometres sealed on County Boundary.
No, only 3.
Oh, only 3.
Yeah. That's a 12-kilometer road in total,
Yeah.
whereas Ivybury was 20 kilometers. So
Did you get any much damage out of that rain event up there?
Yes.
Did that do much damage to the new
Yeah.
constructions?
not to the new constructions, but overall in the North Star Cropper Creek vicinity, like the magnitude of damages are enormous.
Have you got a figure on that? Yeah.
Till date, we have 160 damages recorded.
No, dollars.
No.
No.
Because we are still working, and I think yesterday's rainfall wasn't any helpful either.
No,
So
sure.
we would still have few more coming.
Yeah.
So the 3 kilometers at Ivybury Road and County Boundary Road, we are expecting it to get sealed by mid of May. Ivybury Road was expected to be end April, but we just thought it was most of a economical way that we seal both the
Right.
roads together and save some money up there. The bridge replacement at Gulf Creek Road, that's been completed, guardrail installed as of end of March. PCR has been submitted. Once Road 10 kilometers have been sealed, and the crew has moved on to the next section.
How much? What's the overall length of that?
I think it's 16 kilometers.
16.
Yeah.
Now, that bridge, did you come in on budget for that?
Oh, under budget.
Ah, good on you.
About 30
That wasn't a Dorothy Dixon either, I didn't know.
Helen's smiling.
It's a shame Catherine's not here. She would might.
Yeah.
But in fairness, we did apply for project variation just at the start, because that's what we had approved of initially.
Yeah.
But they gave us a lesser amount. But with the variation, we came like nearly 35K under budget.
Yeah, good.
So that
We
was
get to
all
keep
good.
that? You don't have to give anything back.
No.
Because we had our own money, our own
Yeah,
self-funding.
yeah. We from council funding we spent 38,105 rupees, and the
Rupees.
oh sorry,
Yeah.
Australian dollars. So it was eventually transport's profit, not us, but it was still under budget.
Did you get that in your budget? Rupees?
I don't know what the exchange rate is to know whether
No.
it makes it worse or better.
It's worse for India, better for us.
Yeah. No, you'll do it.
The truck wash at Warrelda is back in action.
Yeah, how did you stop the, just by, superbugs or something, wasn't it? You put in the water? Did you, no? What? Oh, you don't know?
That's cool.
Oh, I'm glad I could ask something. They're gonna dose it with a heap of superbugs, apparently.
Any further questions? So I think,
We're back out on Holly now, are we?
so with Holy Mount, they are doing some real works on the last wing wall, expecting to have concrete poured by Friday. So this Friday, and within a couple weeks, fingers crossed, we'll have the crew to commence the roadworks.
Yeah.
1 week for curing and just 1 week for tidying up, and
I'll just make one comment on that project. I think you've got your 60 sign nearly at Bingra. It's a long way, and the more unrealistic it is, the less likely people are going to slow down.
Yeah.
And it is. It goes right back to where it first started.
Mhm.
Yeah, I reckon they could be moved in. Mm.
I'll take that into
Right.
yeah.
Just go and move it, Lenita, just don't tell anyone.
Probably.
I think transport wouldn't be happy. They want everything to the books.
Well, it's probably their rules. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit sealed now, but not line marked.
And that's why it's so
That's why
there,
it's not-
because we do
yeah.
have signs
Yeah.
saying loose gravel.
Yeah.
No
But
line.
it's even further south than that, isn't it? All right, that's only a minor detail. Any questions of Lenita? Probably at this stage you ask her, is that Alex a good boss? Or
No, we're being recorded.
He's probably
like to know the rupee to dollar. It's 53.
53.
53. In rupees.
I can see the budget and everything.
Have you got to do any other work on the IB4 road after all this rain damage recently? Like, have you got to redo the shoulders or any drainage or anything?
No, not at this stage.
Handle it all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
You must this side of it.
Yeah.
It was this side of it, the rain.
So there was nothing.
Nothing much
There's
more.
still good rain there, but it's pretty good. It was back down Bungle Creek and proper. Yeah.
I thought more, county boundary.
Well, Alex did say at the last meeting that there was, or whenever I was doing that, there was damage in places, but he would apply for a grant
That's right.
and bring it back up to the standard it was, and then keep going with the road. That's how it works, I think.
And with the IB Bore Road, the causeway that we had in the first section, so that worked very well. Although I know it's not black, but it has directed the water where we want it to go. So that is in place and the ratepayers are very happy with that.
Yeah, that was a real headache.
It was, the location and everything.
That's good. All right, any questions, Anita? If not, somebody like to move the recommendation report be received?
Are you on budget?
Councillor Smith, Councillor Mulligan. Did you have a question, Kelly? I'll take it.
Oh, I know, it's all right. I just wondering.
I mean, still on budget,
Still on budget.
still on budget with both the projects.
Oh, no, gee.
Yeah, that's good. And the Moree one, the Moree end of IB Bore Road,
Mm-hmm.
will you be able to do it? What was it, $1 million they got?
Yes,
Can you do it for that?
at this stage, yes.
Yeah.
And a couple of weeks ago, Alex did text their boss because we are tracking IB Bore to be completed earlier than we expect.
All right.
So if they could send us designs or how they want to approach, that would be quite helpful
Yeah.
with us setting up the job, or if we have to design.
Yeah.
So
You need to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I've got a move in a second, I'll put the motion as in place, shall
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Nicholson Oval renaming. This is, it's a bit of a bungalow. But anyway, unfortunately, I think would have been my fault, miscommunication, because I was of the belief that we'd approved the naming and it had been in the public place. And then Councillor Galvin approached me to see what, when we're going to notify the family. I said, well, I can, because it's all been done. But it wasn't. It hadn't been on display. And so I've got mud on my face now, because I've told the family that we agreed to name it after Noel Pillen. And then all these submissions have come in since. Max has suggested that we go this way, and I think it's the only way around it, really. I don't know if anybody's got any comment on this, or it's probably difficult for you to comment on some of the names when we're being recorded. Whether you think they should all be there or not, I don't know. Because to be quite honest with you, I had no idea the involvement that Noel Pillen had. Until it was pointed out to me by the family. But and you'll notice in the submissions that nobody is suggesting it shouldn't be named after him or that he's not worthy. They're just saying there's plenty of other people that are worthy.
Obviously have a honour roll board or something.
Well, that's what the
They have, yes, have them all there, yeah, that's right.
At the end of the day, it's our decision.
Yes.
And so if it's going out to, will it be put on,
No, it's all finished.
that's all finished.
Yeah.
It has gone, it's been put out to,
Yes.
we've got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, if we decided amenities, say, one of the others, like Matty Stevens, just 18, Maria Egan,
Yeah.
fine. We go one of those, well, are we still other people are gonna say, well, that's not,
Yeah.
we've got to make a decision, so.
Well, the suggestion is, as you probably know, that we go ahead and name the building the Noel Pillen Amenities Building. but we also add an honour roll alongside that with these other people's names on it. That have also served there.
That's a good idea.
And I am not in a position to say who would be the most likely person
No.
to be named that way. I don't know. But apparently Noel was involved with some of his gear and levelling the site. And he
When
was,
you read that, he was involved.
he was an early president,
wording.
whatever.
He got it going.
Yeah.
A pretty good bloke, pretty popular bloke, Noel. Yeah.
I take on board that Carl Ryan did a lot too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was later.
Yeah, yeah.
There might be other things that Tommy can get.
But if his name's
On the,
alongside the name of the
I think that covers it.
name of the building.
There's in that first one, first letter, there's quite a list of names.
Yeah.
She's not.
Yeah.
Not being here at that time.
Why did it get called Nicholson Oval anyway? But I know I'm bored Nicholson, but
Because it's on Nicholson Street.
Well, apparently, didn't he donate the ground?
You didn't send something out clear.
Did he?
I thought he donated
Somebody
the
did.
ground.
I didn't send it out, but some information came from the Historical Society.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he donated the ground.
He was, he's on the board there and he was, looked up to by the community. That changed a lot since then.
I think you were talking to him. They said yes, that he did donate the ground for them to have their.
Yeah, I didn't know
Because they
that.
were arguing the point.
He was a sportsman in his youth,
Yeah. Yeah. So really, you can't change the name.
No, and that was the original request.
Yeah,
And I said, we can't do that because it's already named and we're not going.
yeah.
Has it been said that we've got timeframes on renaming things? I know you
We
were talking
haven't
about that.
done anything about it. We've never visited.
That's potentially somewhere where we can at least, when we do name things, let other people who aren't agreeable know that, well, that's the time frame for that, and then,
Yeah.
you know, there's the ability to
Believe it,
rename.
In looking at that, he was the oldest of all them, wasn't he? That he was the oldest. Yeah. Not that that's got a lot to do with it.
So the recommendation is that the amenities building be named the Noel Pillen Amenities Building. Further, that all past supporters of Nicholson Oval nominated within the submission letters be acknowledged on suitable plaque be erected within Nicholson Oval.
I only fear with that, that last bit is that we missed someone out.
Yeah.
But do you reopen it for submissions for that to
That's why I
to get people?
I we could do that. We could say, this is the decision of the council. This is the way we're going. Is
We're
there
now taking
any,
submissions.
yeah.
Other recognitions.
Oh, we don't have 200.
Yeah, that's no. And then,
Yeah, I think you'd have to build criteria around who makes it onto.
Yeah. When they built that new one in Vingra, they wanted that named after John Priddle. And they said, no, we will put a plaque there to say what he'd done, but it's not naming that building after him.
I think we've got to really think about
I
that.
thought that was great.
I think Councillor Cullen mentioned to me, there's a couple of names there that he was surprised that they're there. What do we do about that? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. One there.
What the public wants.
Yeah, sure.
I think you just have a fresh new
All right, let's do it.
submission process.
So I'd like to move that way then. That we further advertise for the supporters board.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Moore, second that.
Council could give it to the Sports Council too.
Yeah. Been one way to do it.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
It might be better to go that way rather than go public again. Would it?
They can research and
Yeah. What's this?
Decision theirs then.
so what are we saying?
Well, you give it to them.
I think that's a great.
who's the president of the sports camp?
Amy
Yeah.
Brooks now?
Only a
Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Amy's got a submission there, so.
we'd let her supply the sports going with the suggestions that we had.
Yep.
Is there any other debate on this? If not, I'll put the motion, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a good result.
pick off a bit of the mud.
Sorry?
Pick off a bit of the mud.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't know. Yeah, we do. We do need to deal with this housing needs and assessment strategy, which we've been over, but there's a recommendation here. Anybody got any further comment on that, on Saul's report? Recommendations, Antonio, that we endorse the 13 strategies and their prioritisation. Prioritisation, the documents are put on public display and the documents sent to public planning. It's all, oh, I guess it's just. I can't say I read every word in the report, but I've been through it very well. And I can't see anything on it.
How, what's that 5 Hope Street? Oh, sorry, that 5 Hope Street thing, I mean, is it reasonably likely that's gonna, have we heard any more since they were talking the other day?
That woman,
She seems totally
confident, wasn't she?
I think, I would like to think it will happen, but
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything since then.
Yeah,
It's my project going forward, Max mentioned, so I'll follow up and see
oh, I think
if we can push it a bit further, because I think
yeah,
it would be great development.
it'd be a good start to probably, you know.
I think that and the independent living thing at not near Nauru is another important one.
Well, what, just a suggestion, why can't we sell the units above the pool and put that money into building the accommodation at the Nauru?
Can we have them? Could do it.
We'll investigate that.
Mm.
We'll investigate that.
Well, I just thought it'd be a good idea because you're getting rid of the old and then you got to build something new.
What is there up there for? How many?
The plan shows, I think there was 10, but we start,
No, how many are
Oh.
up the pool?
4.
4.
Yeah. The biggest cost up here will be the infrastructure, the road, the electricity, once we, and as Saul alluded to in his presentation, we were aware on the horizon there is funding. It's a stage 2 funding for that sort of thing for councils, and it's not dollar for dollar, it's 100% funded. If you can put up a business case to put infrastructure in. Once we've got that infrastructure, then we would sell or find the money to probably start off with 2 units, and then they'd sell off the plan.
I think if you got that infrastructure, got money out of that for the infrastructure, put the infrastructure there, I think you'd have the blocks. I think you'd have the house, with the money.
I would be confident in saying what we could sell that for wouldn't go near putting the infrastructure in, the electricity and the road drainage.
The other thing is you have to, well, there's plenty of other places that exist, but you want to look at how it all works, because the way it does work is the council buys the house back for a lesser amount, obviously, paints the inside, puts new carpet in, sells it again. And you've got to have all that somehow sorted out legally for the, it's essentially it's an over 55s living, a development.
There was discussion in confidential that I won't bring up at the moment, but you would remember about their independent living units and the Nauru area altogether. So we have commissioned somebody to do a report on possibilities and with our aged care housing, which will include Plunkett Street, Holden Street, the development that's been planned for a lot of time, independent living units, and our aged care facility. So there'll be a report come to council, probably the new council, that'll have that all encompassed and different options for them to consider based on our last meeting.
Excellent. The one thing that I picked up in this report that I didn't like was there's a suggestion of housing similar to what we're talking about down here with a common wall. And I thought, when we live in a real community with a bit of room, why would you ever want a common wall? I mean, they're not soundproof. I think it'd be awful.
A common
wall. So you got a unit here and a unit here, but it's the same wall.
Duplex.
Oh, a duplex, yeah. It said some could be one on top of the other, whatever, but I hate that idea.
Some
It'd be
people
good.
like being close to other people.
You don't want to hear them sneeze when you're trying to get sleep. That's what happens.
A lot of people-
I can tell something going wrong.
There is other noises.
Don't want to pass the toilet through the window.
And I don't understand.
I think it will be exciting times if we get to that point.
It's not going to involve me, obviously.
No, so let's not worry about that until we get
I
on.
think it
Mention it.
deserves mentioning, yes.
We'll be calling you in to make a presentation.
Outlining which places are not acceptable.
I don't know that I'll live that long, but I'll try.
Oh, you're hopeful.
Yeah, well, I don't think this is going to happen overnight.
I'd like to see it happen before I retire. That's on my horizon.
I'd like to.
Hopefully I'll live until you retire.
So do I.
Oh, I go to your farewell. So the recommendation is there. Is there any other debate? Not, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Carlton's moved that way and a seconder from Councillor Mulligan. No more comment. I'll put the motion, those in favour say aye. Aye. Okay, done. All of it, please.
It's got the investment report to go, Mr. Carlton, before you close your book.
You know,
The last couple. I won't hold you up long.
Where is
it's not on mine.
Not on mine.
Actually,
Not on mine either.
I found it in the back of this one.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it is.
It is on page 400,
Oh, it's at the back of the study.
Okay.
416.
Yeah, well, that might have got lost in it.
I wouldn't let you.
Oh, here it is, here, investment banks.
It's in this one, it's in the back of the housing.
Yeah, she's heading that away. But I'm studying pretty closely.
He is quite good at the moment. There is one thing I'll raise in confidential. I think it's still commercial in confidence, I'm not sure, but it's better to say, well, sorry. So I can take any questions. Rates are back up about where they should be. Our contractors are still working towards having the details for the sample and paid rates happening in June, I said it was.
Last one I always ask, Helen, how we travel?
We're travelling good at the moment.
All right.
We really are. I think our hard work is finally starting to pay off. It's just frustrating that can flip very quickly based on the fact that we keep getting so far in a deficit of receiving funding after having to pay for the work being done. So
In saying that, Alex mentioned to me late last week that he's confident we will get that 2 million that's owing very soon.
Good stuff.
Have you confirmed that with you, Lenita, the backlog? Have you had that?
No, he did not come.
Okay. He mentioned it to me. He said they've asked, jumped through all the hoops that they've thrown at them. Surely, he said,
Yep.
it should be fulfilling.
and we do have our final R2R payment to come in prior to end of financial year, because our R2R program, the 5 years is up for the current program, so that ends on 30th of June. We start a new program next financial year, and even though it is the middle of April, they still have not confirmed what our reference rate won't change. We won't have to put any more money into the Roads to Recovery program, and they have said that the funding is doubling, but they haven't confirmed how that's being divvied out, whether everyone is just getting a double rate or it's getting dispersed in some other complicated methodology that could mean we get nothing or we get triple or
Think that.
what we get.
Alex seemed to think that they probably cut or not increase the R2R funding to the city council.
You would hope there's a fair methodology
And
being used.
He feels reasonably confident that ours will be doubled.
Yes.
It'll be very welcome.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's needed. Like,
Yeah.
I just hope it is an equitable method that councils that don't really need the R2R currently don't get double what they're also
Yeah, I don't.
getting now.
I'm
But
surprised at that. The other thing Alex told me probably yesterday was that there was a person in Transport for New South Wales that we felt was slowing down our payments. And he, after I was speaking to him yesterday, he rang him and he rang me back and he's quite confident that's not the case. And he said it's not the case. So I'm really pleased about that because I was really, well, somebody that's known to some of us anyway. And I wanted to go over his head and have him disciplined, but he said no. After talking to him, it's not the case. So that's good.
Yeah. it's going to be an ongoing battle just until all the funding's done, not just in roads, but in all our other grant funded programs. But roads just continue to get more and more funding, and the methodology doesn't change in how they pay us. So it's going to be, it is literally, and because it's big money, it does mean that we do need funding sitting in our bank so that we can cover those timing issues. But you still can't have any more money.
No, but if they do double it, it'd be wonderful.
It will be. It'll let us achieve a lot more on things that probably have been not a priority due to the funding that we've got and the works that we're doing with that funding. So there's a lot more flexibility in the R2R stuff.
And just an update, probably particularly for you, Lynn, I had a question about the Copper Creek Moree Road and the dip with the bump in it the other day. And I got on to Alex and he told me that there's 1.4 million allocated for the refurbishment of that road, which you'd know, Anita. But the dip or the culvert hasn't been fixed because it's been promised by Transport Commissioner.
Yeah,
State
it's
government.
a different bucket of money which we are trying to get as a part of flood damage repair. And we don't want to bite into our other CapEx projects because those culverts, those causeways that are spread all over the northern part, and that would chew a bit of money from CapEx projects. Yeah.
But he did go on to say that if that hasn't been rectified, like the money bit, by the end of May, I think he said, then we'd have to do it. Because if we're going to do the rest of the road will be finished by the end of June, he said. So you can't just leave that.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So if you've got plenty of ratepayers out there.
I haven't heard anything for a while. I haven't seen any graffiti for a while.
This bloke said he was carting grain there, but he said he did a bus trip out there the other day and the fellow in the back seat of the bus hit his head pretty badly.
Probably the worst thing is everybody driving to the southern side of it now, so all the approaches on the southern side are just caving.
And it's all plot hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to go. Thank you.
See you, man.
See you, mate. All right.
What is that?
Oh, sorry. We can hear something.
Siren.
Oh,
Sound like an air raid.
We better get moving there.
On the bar.
Where's that bombshell?
Out of England.
We've dug it up.
We've made the recommendation, March monthly investment rates collection.
Yeah.
Councillor Matthews, Councillor Moore. Put the motion in, favor say aye. Aye. Carried. Now I need a resolution to take us into confidential session.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Cotton, seconded. Councillor Matthews, put the motion in favor. Aye. Okay. We can do.
The recommendations of the confidential session, recommendation that the recommendations of the confidential session, namely confidential organisation community service report, be received. Mingra Administration Building, that Shea Brennan Constructions SBC be nominated as a preferred tender, but the contract remains unsigned until all aspects outlined in the tender evaluation report are satisfied. Landfill plant items, that council staff provide a report on the operation for engaging contractors, and that further formal quotations are obtained for the equipment outlined in the report. Moved by Councillor Colton, second by Councillor Smith.
Thank you. So that somebody like to move they be adopted on the general meeting, please. Councillor Mulligan, seconded. Councillor Smith moved. Put the motion out in favour, say aye. Aye. Okay, that completes our business. Thank you for your attendance, and lunch is served. Or will be.
Yes.
Meeting closed.
Yes.
Meeting's over. My hands just. You started.